Greetings and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. Today's episode is about magic. Although the world's major religions have generally treated the practice of magic as a taboo subject, magic has been talked about a lot in Law of One channeling sessions as an important part of our spiritual life. In the Law of One, it's taken as a given that we are inherently magical beings, that the universe is by nature magical, and that anything and everything we do every day can be infused with magic if we wish. So what is magic and what is adepthood? What is the magical personality and how can we use magic every day in service to others? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the L&L Research website shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook group and we meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you'd like to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week with the Zoom links and information on what we'll be talking about that week. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as recordings of our monthly Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. Just go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you would like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. As mentioned, today's topic is magic. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, go ahead, let our viewers know who you are and where you're calling from, starting with Dr. J.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Dr. Jonathan Locus. Everyone calls me Dr. J. I am based in Tampa, Florida, and I am so happy to be here with you all today.
We are always so happy to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. And Elaine?
Hi, I'm Elaine, calling from Santa Rosa, California, and as always, just so happy to be here with all of you.
And we are happy, as always, to hang out with you again. And Des?
Hi, I'm Desiree, and I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas, and just really excited to chat with y'all today.
We're always excited to hang out with you, Des. Thank you for being here. Did want to remind our viewers that none of us here are experts or authorities on the Law of One or on ritual magic. We are just normal people like you hanging out, talking about spiritual things that seem important to us. Anything that any of us say could be wrong. You're welcome to disagree with anything or everything anybody says. If you are already familiar with the Law of One and the entity known as Quo, you might want to skip ahead to the chapter on what is magic. Otherwise, for those who are new to the Law of One, you can think of the Law of One as a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one and that one thing is love. All the reading passages we're looking at today came to us through the process known as channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities, such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, inner planes beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, etc. A channel basically serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through. And in this case, those entities would appear to be of extraterrestrial origin. There are two types of channeling that have been developed by our friends at L&L Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance state, meaning they are subconscious or unconscious as if asleep, meaning they are not aware at all of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with an entity known as Ra in the early 1980s. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but deep meditative state, meaning they're only somewhat aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with an entity known as Quo, starting in the mid-1980s up to present day. Who is Quo? You can think of Quo as a group entity made up of three social memory complexes: Ra at 6th density, Latui at 5th density, Hatan at 4th density. You can think of a social memory complex as a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one group mind. You can think of densities or dimensions as different levels of consciousness or different levels of reality, since those two things are so closely intertwined. Imagine, if you will, that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some form of consciousness, as many indigenous cultures have been saying they do for centuries, We refer to this as first density. You can think of second density as the level of consciousness of plants and animals, clearly a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of what we would refer to as inanimate matter. You can think of third density as the level of consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, a significant quantum leap in consciousness above and beyond the consciousness of plants and other animals. You can think of fourth density as the level of consciousness of the social memory complex, as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one single group mind. Clearly a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of an individual person. You can think of fifth and sixth densities as whatever would be comparable quantum leaps above and beyond that. There is much more to be said about that. And if you want more details, check out our podcast episode on densities and dimensions. Otherwise, for now, suffice it to say, the entity known as Quo appears to be made of three planetary consciousnesses: Ra at sixth density, Latui at fifth density, and Hatan at fourth density. First contact with Quo was made by the LNL research channeling team in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984, and they have been channeled every month since then up to present day by the LNL research channeling team. You can find transcripts of those sessions in the LNL conscious channeling library shown on your screen. Having said that, let's take a look at a couple passages on what is magic. On February 25th, 2023, not that long ago, Quo said, "The basic quality of magic is the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. These changes in consciousness may be either towards the light side of service to others or the dark side of service to self. There is within each entity, then, the ability to make this choice on a daily basis so that you empower your choice of service to others in whatever you do, whether it be magic or the normal round of your daily activities. However, the conscious entity, that which is known as the adept, which has already opened his heart in unconditional love, may then accelerate its own spiritual growth by sharing his abilities with others in the magical sense, creating changes in consciousness that will be of more service to others because of the intention of the adept or the spiritual seeker. Thus, you are able, by your use of magic or of how you see your daily life in relation to others, to create within yourself and within the world around you the light and love of the one creator that allows more people to feel your presence of love and your intention of sharing with others the light and love of the one infinite creator." A beautiful passage, and they have obviously used this definition of magic many times in sessions before this, including the Raw Contact, where they define magic as the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. I'm guessing that's really not something people would normally think of for magic, and I'm curious to hear what that means to our panelists. Dr. J, any thoughts on this passage or what it means creating changes in consciousness at will?
Yeah, I think the way they describe it is it's very simplistic. And even as we discussed kind of at the beginning, something that anybody can really has the ability to do. And so kind of when I think about like everything to me typically is like a process. So if you think about like, okay, how can there be a way to should be able to create changes in consciousness at will? A lot of time if you feel like something is off, you get that intuition. And I believe that intuition becomes at least a first step as we start to engage with our magic personality. We start to get that intuition that something kind of may be off. Then that allows us to then either go to a next step to see what is it that we need to change, and then to be able to the various abilities we can go so to change that, whether you may be sending energy to someone, you may be sending love and light visualizations to be able to kind of start that consciousness at will. Another part that I thought that was really kind of amazing was in that in part two when they mentioned, thus you are able to, by your use of magic or how you see your daily life in relation to others, to create within yourself and within the world around you the light and love of the one infinite creator that allows more people to feel your presence. And I think that is one thing too, that as people think about magic, one of the steps is, you know, how is it that you can maybe incorporate it in your daily life. So not only whether you have a busy day, with meetings and things like that, or you're retired and you're hanging out and you're learning. What are ways that magic and ability and sending positive energy to folks, because we're on a positive end, of course. So what are ways that can actually be enhanced to be able to help and be of service to those around you? And the last part of that is just the will of the magician, the intention. Those become really, really important as we look at the outcomes that we want to achieve.
Really appreciate you bringing intuition into this because it's not something I had really thought of, and I'm not sure if that even appears in many or any of the passages that we're looking at today. But now that you mention it, yeah, I agree. It's super important to develop that intuitive sense, and the ability to trust it and follow it, I think, is super important. What do you think, Des? Anything to add?
Yeah, I do think that when people generally think about magic, they think of like, oh, I pulled a rabbit out of a hat or I turned lead into gold, these kind of like more silly things, I guess. But it generally, the way this passage made me think about it is that it's just the ability to manifest into your life, to not just be at the whim of like, oh, I'm just reacting. It's just like things happen to me, challenging things happen, and so I'm sad or I'm angry, or good things happen and then I'm happy. It's that just makes you more just like a reacting to whatever's going on versus being like, whatever's thrown at me, I'm going to find the good in this and I'm going to bring, love and light to everyone around me. And that's exerting magic because you're in control of the situation now. Like you're spreading love and abundance instead of just like I'm at the whim of whatever life throws at me.
Yeah, excellent point. Another thing I hadn't thought of, but makes perfect
Hmm.
sense. That's why I always enjoy having panelists on. People always think of things that I hadn't thought of. But I appreciate your bringing up the consciousness part because I think probably be fair to say that when most people think of magic, they think of, like you said, somebody pulling a rabbit out of a hat or doing something that seems to defy natural laws or stuff. But
Hmm.
I think it really kind of goes back to what we said, or what I was saying about dimensions, densities being different levels of consciousness or different levels of reality. Because I think it would be fair to say it's true. Reality and consciousness are so closely intertwined that you could say changing consciousness is in many ways changing reality and what we perceive of as reality. Oh, what do you think, Elaine? Anything to add?
Yes, I love this because and creating changes in consciousness at will, which is all about intention, and and all of this is what we do on a moment to moment basis as we go through our daily activities and process catalyst. So, really, to me, this kind of means that really everything is magic. We're already living in magic, and what came to mind immediately was just being in nature. Like when I need to process some kind of catalyst and I just really need to change my consciousness and what's happening with me. If I go out in nature, the energy uh, of the trees and all of that to me is magic, and we're already living in it. And so we can sort of tap into that. So yeah, like Desi said, it's not so much the ritualistic um, practice, which I know there's a lot of, and which I know nothing about, but it's more magic to me is just already there. We're living in magic
Yeah, and I
constantly.
appreciate your bringing the nature part into it because I agree that is such an important thing. And as I said in the introduction, I mean, I think it is part of the law of one that the universe is by nature magical and Mother Earth is
Hmm.
magical. And we're surrounded by magic and nature
Yep.
spirits all over. And indigenous peoples have kind of known that for a long time and have made that
Hmm.
part of their spiritualities as well. So appreciate
Yeah.
the reminder for sure.
Yeah, and they're like magical realms. Like nature to me is like a magical world, you know. Music is a magical world, you know. Storytelling is a magical world. So, yeah.
Music for sure. I mean, the idea of taking words that we would normally speak, but changing them into a form and adding musical notes and sounds to it, I would think that is alchemy, magic of the highest
Mm,
order in so many
mm,
ways.
mm,
Certainly, a lot of the music I've listened to feels magical,
mhm.
including the music of Elaine Lucia. Plug, plug, plug.
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing? You've been doing music since you were a child, right, Elaine?
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anybody else have any other thoughts on this passage? Anything else to add before we take a look at a second passage? Sounds good. This is from, well, we got a couple passages. The first one is from February 12th, 2006. Quo said, "A magician is one with the ability to effect changes in consciousness at will. You have been a magician each time that you have faced a situation in life and made a conscious choice to respond to catalyst that is offered you in a way which was not automatic in your responsive system. When you have chosen a higher path, when you have chosen a soft word instead of a harsh one, a kind action instead of a rude one, or an honest, if hard answer instead of a hypocritical, though easy one, you have acted in a magical way, choosing to lift your consciousness to a higher path." And on November 4th, 2001, Quo said, "At a time when it is easy to give negative thought, finding that one positive thought is to work magic. When people realize their power, they become much more effective. And so we would ask each of you to realize the tremendous potential within you. Realize that you are already exerting a great deal of power. So the question becomes, what is the right use of power? Where is the love in the situation in front of your eyes? That is the question that brings the most resonance and affords the most magic in terms of being able to affect change." Yeah, as I said in
Mm,
the intro, I think one of the things that really strikes me the most about passages like this is how, as far as I can tell, all the world's major religions, they generally treat the practice of magic as a taboo subject. It is forbidden. It is considered satanic or demonic or whatever is against church teachings. And I just love how these passages that you're seeing here are fairly typical. There are many passages, other ones, where they have said more or less the same thing in different words. And I just love the idea, the part in the first passage where they say, anytime that you have chosen a soft word instead of a harsh one, a kind action instead of a rude one, anytime that you responded to a catalyst in a way that was not the one that you usually do, your automatic response, you have done something magical. And I think that's just a
mm.
really, really beautiful and profoundly powerful truth that certainly resonates with me and hopefully with our viewers. Des, did you have any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, I was thinking about kind of like moving from like that automatic jerk reaction to a more intentional one, and how sometimes it can just be a habit. Maybe a certain person that you struggle with, you have an automatic reaction to kind of their normal behavior because it's just what you've always done. And so magic would be kind of like being able to, yeah, use your consciousness and your will to redirect that and to maybe look for the good in that person that maybe is hard to see sometimes, but like there's something there. And maybe if it's even just the fact that they're helping you create your magic, by giving you the opportunity to like practice changing your consciousness at will and to kind of see like, okay, I can flip this around and create something beautiful out of it.
So real and so relevant today. I mean, we are constantly bombarded with catalyst of a seemingly negative nature. And it's so easy, at least for me, to respond to so many things that I'm seeing in current events, shall we say, that inspires a negative reaction from me, or reaction of fear or anger or resentment or whatever. And just like you're saying, takes a matter of choice or will to change that response from the knee-jerk reaction to something more deliberate that is more kind and loving. And I agree, super, super important. Elaine, anything to add?
Yes, to riff on what you were just saying, Jonathan. Actually, yeah, thank you. um, is that the nature of where we are right now? So many people do feel powerless. And in this second paragraph, it's saying, Quo is saying, you already have all that potential within you. You already have a great deal of power within yourself, which is the love and light of the one infinite creator, of course. So that's it's pointing out everyone has this power. And so if you use your will and your intention to access the right use of that power that you have, it's so uplifting that anyone can do it. And so you can use your will and your intention to change your consciousness in these catalyst situations where you choose a soft word or love instead of anger. And it's just, I just love it. It's just so beautiful, and it is magic. So we are all magic, and we all have that power within us. And as you were reading it, um uh I saw in my mind like a magic, what's it called, a crystal ball, you know, looking for the creator, looking for the love in the moment. That's kind of like a little magical icon, I guess, looking into a crystal ball. And we all have that. We all have that power and that ability. So it's nice that it's called magic, but it's really accessing the creator in every moment that you can and seeing that in the other.
I appreciate your
It's
bringing that up because that's something that I kind of forgot and kind of skipped over in the previous passage, where they really are framing magic in terms of creating within yourself the light and love of the one creator and allowing people to feel it. I think the change in consciousness that they're referring to, at least in this passage, is people feeling the love and light of the one infinite creator as you channel it yourself. You are changing your
Mhm.
own consciousness and hopefully, ideally, changing consciousness of those around you who are able to perceive it in you. That's a beautiful, beautiful, powerful thing that, like you said, anybody can do. You don't have to be Gandalf
Mhm.
or Dumbledore or wizard or witch. Anybody can do that.
Yep.
Dr. J,
Mhm.
anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Elaine.
Oh, no, no, I'm just agreeing with you.
Dr. J, anything to add?
Hey, I was just gonna love the discussion, talking, especially talking about like the impact on consciousness, and which is, increased awareness, right? And I think about specific like situations, like one in particular, that I was in, as to where I was kind of newer in my higher education administrative VP journey, and was dealing with an employee issue. A union thought somebody should be hired. They didn't have the qualifications. I didn't hire them, but that ended up leading into a grievance, which means we had to. It was a lawsuit. The union was suing, so it was very, very, very stressful time. So, but every morning before I would go to work, I would read the Law of One. That way, I would meditate, read the Law of One before I started, so that would at least put me at a vibration as I'm starting the day. But this one particular day, I had a meeting with um, this thing about this lawsuit thing that I thought was completely frivolous. So we're in this meeting, and these individuals are just blatantly lying. There's another person there, but they're lying on both of us, just blatantly lying. And I am getting pissed. Like I just feel my like I'm getting pissed. I'm not gonna cuss Jonathan on your podcast, but I'm getting
We swear a lot on this podcast. You should know this by now, my friend.
but I'm getting to the point to where I'm actually feeling my intuition. Like kind of you need to calm down. So I'm thinking about what I had read earlier in the Law of One, where they're talking about to try to find a love in the moment, and if you don't find a love in the moment, then you put love there. And the I get this thought like, send this woman love, and my thought is like, she just want, they don't deserve love, and I'm like, okay, that's backwards. That's exactly. So I changed up changed in consciousness. I started sending that whole table of people like love and light. And what happened immediately for me is I just felt a complete lightness. So I didn't feel as heavy. So I started to feel lightness. But when we talked about the changes in consciousness, I started to see understand my level of awareness increase from all of these different points of view that they had is in regards to family lineage and all of these different things that were there that I just didn't see before, but it just opened up awareness. And I think about like how when you do try to send love and light, how that impacts consciousness. To 2 years, 2.5, 3 years later, I got really kind of close with that union to the point where I was presenting at their state conferences. After even the lawsuit and everything had went away, and that sending that love and light had not only impact on myself, but the relationship of the love and light that I sent to that person, because we even still to this day even have a good relationship, which I didn't think was going to be possible at the time where those things were being told about me. So when we talk about like consciousness and ability to be able to make those changes, you get an increased awareness not only of yourself, but the understanding of other people to help you become more empathetic in that particular situation.
What a great example. What a great story. Super appreciate it. And easy to see the magic in it. I think changing relationships in ways that did not seem possible, I think doing the impossible or the improbable, I think is a great example of magic. Appreciate your sharing that. Anybody else have anything to share? Any stories or examples or any other thoughts on these two passages?
I'll say that I think that what he was saying about increasing your awareness was helpful, because I realized that sometimes when I'm looking for kind of the good in someone or the situation, it helps to remember that most people are just acting from their state of consciousness and their understanding. And so that what's coming out of them might be very angry or combative, but they may be operating from a state of fear, or they may be feeling like a victim. And so you can think of times when you were fearful or you felt like a victim and how you reacted, and how like maybe they're not so bad as they appear, and it's just like they're hurt, and so and they don't know, they haven't developed the consciousness and the willpower to kind of like convert that into something else, so you can be more empathetic towards them.
Another thing I hadn't thought of, but yeah, the whole idea of empathy and being able to see that other as a mirror and see yourself in that other person, I think that's really powerful as well. Appreciate that. Anybody else have anything to share? Cool. Dr. J, I might suggest you turn your mic up just a little bit, because I think on my end, at least, you're coming through not quite as loud as the rest of us. So if you want to turn it up just a little bit, and we'll fine tune it as we go along.
What about now?
Otherwise, let's go ahead and take a look at a few passages on what is an adept. Adept is a term that's used quite a bit in channeling sessions. In the Raw Contact, session 75, question 23, Ra said, "The entity, as it becomes more and more conscious of itself, gradually comes to the turning point at which it determines to seek either in service to others or in service to self. The seeker becomes the adept when it has balanced with minimal adequacy the energy centers red, orange, yellow, and blue, with the addition of the green for the positive, thus moving into indigo work. The adept then begins to do less of the preliminary or outer work having to do with function, and begins to affect the inner work which has to do with being. As the adept becomes a more and more consciously crystallized entity, It gradually manifests more and more of that which it always has been since before time. That is, the one infinite creator. And in session 80, question 10, Ra said, "It is also to be noted that an adept is one which has freed itself more and more from the constraints of the thoughts, opinions, and bonds of other selves. Whether this is done for service to others or service to self, it is a necessary part of the awakening of the adept." Really interesting passages, and I'm thinking that first one certainly goes back to what Elaine was saying about really just channeling the love and light of the one infinite creator. Did you have any thoughts on that passage here or anything on the screen, Elaine?
I um you know, I never have considered myself an adept, but I look at all my brothers and sisters in the Love One community as adepts. Like I can consider all of them as adepts rather than myself. But when it speaks about balancing basically your energy centers, um, is when you become an adept. I I work with that every single day in my meditation, and I always feel like I'm I'm working so hard and spending so much time balancing my first three energy centers to get into my heart. And by that time, like an hour has gone by, and I'm like, okay, I guess I just can't get any farther. I don't know if I'm like balancing, all of my energy centers or not. So I never really consider myself an adept, but I consider everybody else an adept.
Yeah, and
But
adept to me, it's like the term wanderer. It's like, I don't know, anybody could be, anybody could not be. And if you
yeah,
need that label to make you feel better about yourself, or if it makes you feel like you're better than others, then probably not an adept, probably not a
yeah.
wanderer.
I think practitioners, people who make it their mission kind of to be a practitioner or healers, that's so amazing to me. I just so admire that because you really cannot be a true facilitator of the love and light of the creator flowing through you if you are not balanced in this way. So it's I'll respect all respect to those healers. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing the work on energy centers because that's something I'm working
Mm-hmm.
with every day, all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
for our viewers, if you're not familiar with energy centers, it's very, very much like chakras in the Hindu tradition. So, in addition to the physical body, which we seem to have in the law of one, we have an energy body. And as energy from the universe flows through up through the earth into our energy body, it flows up first through our red ray, our root chakra, and then up to our orange ray or sacral chakra, up to our yellow ray or solar plexus chakra, green ray or heart chakra, blue ray or throat chakra, indigo ray or third eye chakra, and out the crown chakra. And each of those energy centers deals with different things. I know the red one deals with survival issues and sexuality. The orange one with our relationships with individual other selves, and our yellow ones deals with our relationships with groups of other selves. So, yeah, they're saying an adept is somebody who's managed to unblock and balance those three so that you have positive, balanced relationships with others, and then you can start working on the upper levels. But they say it's not a one and done thing. You always have to go back and deal with blockages in the lower centers for sure. What do you think, Dr. Jade? Anything to add?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay. Let me know if you can't hear me okay. But I would say the thing, even as Elaine was saying, that even myself too, when it comes to something like what is an adept, I never really like looked at myself as an adept. I just was I look to my left and right and I see adepts, and I just say maybe adeptness by association, or
Okay.
just being around people who are adept just increases my vibration. So that was the one thing that I thought. And then in 80/10, which I think has honestly been a challenge for me, and that's something that I go through on a consistent basis of try to free more and more of myself from the constraints of the thoughts, opinions, and bonds of other selves. And that I can say that even in these times, that part has become a lot more challenging, which is where I believe I've been doing a lot more inner work. So those like I said, freeing yourself from the constraints of other folks. And that's something that I've had to deal with as I went from becoming more spiritual, then religious, and all of these different aspects of myself that I've integrated.
Indeed. Uh, uh, Jonathan, your mic, I think, sounds louder, but it kind of sounds like you're in a
Echo
tin
chamber.
can or a closet or
Yeah.
something. It sounds a little bit muffled, your voice. Might want to try tweaking that a little bit, but the volume, I think, is sounding good. Otherwise, yeah, appreciate the thoughts on that. And again, I think we tend to get hung up on labels, especially that involve like respect or self-esteem issues. So I don't. My understanding of adept is it just means an advanced student. So it means somebody who's pretty much worked out stuff on the lower energy levels and is working on the upper energy levels. And in that sense, I'm guessing everybody is an adept at some point. I mean, if you're watching this and if you're aware of energy centers, if you've been working on your energy centers, then in some sense, I'm sure we've all had our lower centers balanced at some point and unbalanced at others. So I guess I'm just saying I wouldn't get too hung up on labels. Desi, anything to add?
Yeah, similarly, yeah, I never really considered myself an adept, but I mean, I agree with you that it's just anyone that's working with their conscious will and trying to elevate their consciousness, work through their energy centers. I do think that there's shouldn't feel any sort of shame for working with the lower energy centers because, having those unblocked is what allows you to get into the green ray and be able to make that choice of service to others. So, yeah, and I think we're, at least myself, I feel like I'm constantly working with those. It's not like it's, like you mentioned, one and done. It's like things will trigger the lower energy blockages at times, and you'll have to like kind of remind yourself and unclear those blocks. But yeah, um, that's what I have.
Yeah, yeah. We went into energy centers and chakras a lot more elsewhere. We did a podcast episode on chakras and energy centers. So viewers, if you're not really following this conversation, you might want to check out that episode on our YouTube channel. Otherwise, yeah, I think that last passage I have found interesting, where they're saying that an adept is one which has freed itself more and more from the constraints of the thoughts, opinions, and bonds of other selves. And that works either on the service to others or service to self path. Certainly reminds me of people I see in political spheres who just seem to have no problems doing blatantly saying false lies like Dr. J was talking about, or doing things which are incredibly harmful and hurtful to others, and apparently really don't seem to care what others think about that. And I mean, I could get triggered and think of that as a really terrible, horrific thing, or I guess I could say, well, you know what? That is part of that path. It is, they are freeing themselves from the constraints of thoughts and opinions of others. And the same thing applies on the positive path. I'm guessing that all of us here on the panel and everyone watching this on video at some point has found a little bit of conflict between being true to who they really feel they are and feeling that thoughts, opinions of others seem to be running counter to that. So I think it's an important part of the learning for everybody. Does anybody have any other thoughts on this screen before I change it? I think I've got another passage or two to look at. Let's take a look at another one. This is from February 12th, 2006. Quo said, adepthood or priesthood can be seen as the movement into the outer courtyard of the heart and into the inner door to the sanctum sanctorum, your heart of hearts. If you genuinely sincerely and honestly seek the truth of your own being, and if you are willing to commit ineluctably and to simply living your life in the pursuit of that seeking, you are worthy to be called a priest and an adept. You may not be able, because of your lifestyle, to commit hours out of each day to the ritual involved in priesthood as it is seen in holy orders. You may not be able to invoke and evoke specific energies at specific times in a ritualistic manner, for that would indeed take a great deal of subtle work and visualization that would require you to maintain a level of focus given only to what this instrument would generally term madmen, saints, and fanatics. Such is the nature of priesthood. We expect and understand that this is not the level of your commitment, and we specifically express our understanding that this is ethically acceptable in terms of the metaphysical balance, not only of your individual life, but also the life of your group as you experience yourselves during this gathering and that group which is the tribe of humankind upon planet Earth. I think this speaks really well to what we were just talking about before, which is seeing yourself as an adept. That part in the first paragraph where they're saying, if you genuinely, sincerely, and honestly seek the truth of your own being, and if you are willing to commit ineluctably and simply to living your life in the pursuit of that seeking, you are worthy to be called a priest and an adept. Ineluctably, I believe, means like irresistible, like you cannot be persuaded to not seek the truth of your own being. If you're really committed to that search, you are worthy of it, which, as far as I'm concerned, probably applies to everyone on this panel and probably most everybody watching this on the video. If you've been watching this far, you're probably worthy of being called that. I think there was some passage in the Bible that comes up often, is quoted a lot in channeling sessions, where they talked about a nation of priests, a nation where everyone is a priest, which it makes sense. Everyone who is committed to doing this kind of spiritual work. Don't worry about the label. You're just doing it, I think. What do you think, Dr. J? Any thoughts on this passage?
Yeah, just to be sure, you pretty much took it. Like that was it, like to um we can still be doing the work, we can still be doing the work and trying and just like the nature of how culture is now, we may not be able to go away for X amount of years to study priesthood and to be able, it just may not be feasible, but that does not mean that you're not walking in those same pathways and that same light. So I just love this because it to me it kind of took some of the fears and things around vibration of certain words to be able to know, like, if if you're just trying to get better, you focusing on yourself and you really want truth, this is it right here. So I just really short, but it was just, I love the way they communicated this because it was just so plainly put.
Yeah. And a good reminder that, as we said at the beginning, all of these reading passages that we're looking at came to us through the process of channeling. So the person who was saying this, in this case, was in a deep meditative state, kind of like maybe when you're just coming out of a dream, half awake, half asleep, and not really totally aware of what's going on. So they were saying all these words without being really all that clear on what words they were saying, and they certainly didn't know what it was going to end up being like. So I just think that's so incredibly beautiful and magical and powerful that these words are coming to us filled with so much love and so much wisdom and compassion. And apparently from an extraterrestrial entity made up of 3 planetary consciousnesses. If that's not magic, I don't know what is. What do you think, Des? Any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, I do think that we have this idea that to be spiritual, you have to go to Tibet and be in a mountain and be meditating all day long. And not that that's not a path if you choose to take that, but I also feel that, being amongst others and having mirrors is also a way to do inner work as well. And yeah, basically what I got from the very first paragraph was that, you have to go inner, like it's all about knowing yourself, knowing thyself, to a high degree. Because if you're trying to exert, changes in consciousness at will, you have to understand where you're at, like where are your blockages, where are you in wrong thinking. In order to like affect change, you have to really understand yourself, and it'll help you and also understand others by doing so. And yeah, sometimes you do need to go meditate for a long time and be by yourself to figure these things out, but to not be a dissuade if, for example, life circumstances put you in that you have a family or you have things going on or you don't have a lot of quiet time, that you can still, even in those moments, try to center yourself. And it might be more challenging. And maybe someone who's in a cave all day meditating, if they were in your shoes, maybe they wouldn't be able to keep their cool quite as easily.
Yeah, Dalai
So
Lama didn't have to raise kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
like a screaming 2-year-old and you have to somehow like stay centered and stay calm and bring love. Like that might be a challenge that maybe you chose in this life, and that it is for your inner work, and that not to look at it like, oh, like I should have chose differently. I should have whatever done something so that I could have been in a cave. It's like, well, you didn't choose the cave this time. So yeah, you can still do inner work no matter what.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the part that you said about just really trying to find out who you are on the deepest level, because I think in so many ways that really is what this is about. When they're saying in the first paragraph about genuinely, sincerely, honestly seeking the truth of your own being is really what I think what you're describing. It's really
Yeah.
finding out who you are on the deepest level, because according to the law of one, on the deepest level, you are the one infinite creator. So if you are really committed to finding that and becoming that, then you're worthy. Worthy to get that
Hmm.
little label on your
Yeah.
forehead. What do you think, Elaine? Anything to add?
Yeah, everything you guys said is just it's just perfect. And again, to me, this just sort of reiterates that, you know, every single soul has its path, and it's their unique path. And so, like you said, Jonathan, the connotations of the words, like, for example, priest and priesthood has a completely different connotation for me, as I was raised Roman Catholic. And so just kind of bypassing those labels and those words, I think, is really key. And it's just saying again, no matter what your level of commitment or your lifestyle, and Desi has a little one, that path is just as spiritual, just as you are just as much of an adept on that path as the monk sitting in a cave in Tibet, right? So again, it's just saying your own path, and how you use your will to affect these changes in consciousness is something that we all have and can choose how to use what we're talking about today, which is magic, to use your power in that way on your path.
For sure. And again, I would say, yeah, raising a child can be magical for sure, especially when
Hmm.
you are feeling like you're losing your temper and losing your patience and you want to say something that's unkind or harsh, but you, by will, change your consciousness to find that love in the moment and to say something more loving or kind. Oh, man, if that's not magic, I don't know what is. Not to mention creating a new life and bringing it into the world and raising it. That's, yeah, it's powerful stuff. If you don't mind, panelists, there was that last part in the first paragraph where they're talking about being worthy to be called a priest and an adept. We've been talking so much already about feelings of not being worthy and such. It reminds me of a passage that I did not share with you in advance, so you're going to be seeing this for the first time. But this was from Marianne Wilson, who I don't know if you're familiar, Williamson. She's an author, lecturer, activist, and she wrote a book called A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of Cause and Miracles. This quote is fairly well known. It's been attributed to Nelson Mandela because I think it seems to suit him so well, but she is actually the one who said this. And she said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Such a beautiful quote. I've seen it many times and I saw it a long time ago, but as I was preparing for the podcast today and kind of looking over the slides again, this passage came to mind and I thought, yeah, it just seems really a good one worth sharing. Panelists, does anybody have any thoughts on this? I didn't expect anybody to comment on it, but does anybody have anything wanted to say about it?
I love Marianne Williamson, and Course in Miracles. So I find
Mhm.
it an excellent passage that you chose, and yeah, it's just not about shrinking and that part about what is it? We give each other permission to shine when we shine. I think that's
Yeah.
accurate. And if you're around others that where they make you feel small, it might be that you're not surrounding yourself around the right people. Um, at least for the time being. But
I
yeah.
like that part at the end of the first paragraph where they said, your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. I think that is something that a lot of people feel and do, something I certainly have felt and experienced at times. So find
Mhm.
this encouraging. I'm not familiar with the Course in Miracles. I know a lot of folks in the Law of One are familiar with it and read it. Is that something that you read already, Desi? Are you familiar with Course in Miracles?
Yes, I believe I found Course in Miracles maybe right before I found Law of One because I found it and then I was watching videos from Aaron Apke and that's how I got connected into the Law of One stuff. But I feel like there's a lot of parallels between both books. They're both channeled text. Course in Miracles was more, I think, channeled not in a trance state. I think she was like awake, but more like writing what she was kind
Mhm.
of coming down to her. But it's like a very metaphysical, almost very Christian lens language, like Christ force, and but it's I think it's very much aligned with the Law of One.
It sure seems like it. And like I said, I know a lot of folks in the Law of One community who discovered that before the Law of One, perhaps. Anybody else? Dr. J. Elaine, are you familiar with the Course in Miracles?
I studied the Course in Miracles for, I would say, maybe 3 to 4 years, and did the daily readings, the work, they call it the workbook, twice in a row, and it it was I found it incredible because it's so much of it is about forgiveness. Um, and also, one of the phrases there, what became like my go-to specifically when I was feeling very unworthy, and that is, I am as God made me. And it's like, if you think about that, I am as God made me, and which is perfect and beautiful, brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. If you can remember that when you're, or for me, if I could remember that when I was in that kind of crisis, I would go, oh, yes, of course. And then I would turn it around when I was having a catalyst with another self. I would remind myself, I am as God made me, and so are you.
Yeah.
And that just kind of erased, for me anyway, that energy of conflict and kind of unconsciousness. It just made me aware and brought the creator into the situation there. So I love A Course in Miracles, and This is a beautiful way of distilling one of the major premises of A Course in Miracles. So this is, yeah,
Nice.
beautiful. Hmm.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. Thank you for sharing that, and hopefully our viewers will appreciate that too. Dr. J, did you have anything to add on this before we move on?
Just real quick, I just loved it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. That's it right there. That's a that's it. That's it. That's all I got. That's it. I
That
love that.
really caught my eye too. Yeah, yeah. She did a beautiful job. Every word, every phrase in here is really profound, I think. So good job, Marianne Williamson. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple passages on what is referred to in the Law of One as magical personality. On March 29th, 2008, Quo said, "The magical personality is not a mysterious entity. It is yourself at a different stage of your development. We have called it the higher self. It is your highest and best self. It is a completely magical, focused, sacred being. It is your gift to yourself from mid-sixth density across all the reaches of infinite space-time and time-space. Your higher self or magical personality offers to you the entire array of resources with its vast experience has gathered. You and your higher self or magical personality created the plan for this incarnation, and your higher self or magical personality is, at all times, as close as you're breathing." Really fascinating. I think higher self was certainly a phrase that I was familiar with and I think has been used and seen in a lot of different New Age spiritual teachings, shall we say. But yeah, magical personality was a new term that I don't think I'd seen anywhere before Law of One. I'm not sure if I've seen it anywhere else, but if we understand that the magical personality is basically the same thing as our higher self. It is your future self in mid-sixth density before it moves on to the next level, sending gift back to all of its past selves to be able to help them. I just think that's super fascinating, super beautiful. Des, did you have any thoughts on anything here?
Sure. I really like that it said like at the very end, as close as you're breathing, it's like how close your higher self is to you. Just to remember that I think of it like when I get intuitive hints or just like a feeling that that's my higher self calling me to action or to like, okay, if you're not feeling good about this, like what does that mean? Or what should, and have discernment, right? To know it's not a fear-based versus like coming from your higher self. But yeah, it's just I feel that also the fact that time is kind of this weird thing that we think we're in, but kind of collapses. So it's like you and your higher self are the same being, and then the more you can connect to your higher self, the more you kind of bring that into your current reality.
That's nice. Yeah, I think there are more than a few people in the Law of One community I've met who have made a practice of trying to connect with their higher self, either through some sort of meditative state or talking to their higher self consciously or asking for help or channeling their higher self and such. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. I think I would feel more comfortable channeling my higher self than some extraterrestrial entity that I've never met. Somebody who's a little more familiar, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Elaine? Anything to add?
Yes, I have two things. And it's all about language here. So the word personality to me is more of a kind of a surface um, garment,
Mhm.
that we put on. And so I would have never made the connection between the phrase magical personality and my higher self. Um, I When I meditate, the very first thing I do without fail is to thank my higher self and ask my higher self to be with me. And when I go to sleep at night, I ask my higher self to come to me in my dreams because that is another thing that the higher self um, does to help us. And I I just love this whole concept of the higher self being as close as you're breathing, because they really are you. They've just they're much farther down the path and they're looking back and helping you and guiding you, and that is their mission, that is their service. And it's you can really access your higher self to be with you. And I really depend on my higher self. And the second thing I wanted to say was the very first gathering that I went to in Seebeck in 2023, I think it was,
In Washington.
uh, in Washington, when got up very, very early and was meditating, and I met or saw, visualized my higher self. And I was watching myself, this light being or presence, and watching myself from behind, and it embraced me. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's my higher self. And it was this incredible thing. And then I kind of came to and was sitting up on the edge of the bed, but I didn't really remember doing that. So I was like, did I just dream that? Or did that really happen? Was that a meditation? It was a very profound experience, and it really affected me for days and days. I felt the presence of my higher self closer than my own breath in a way. And it, I guess, kind of made itself known to me in a more physical, visual way, which felt like just an incredible gift. And so ever since then, I am just so grateful for that experience and thank my higher self every day. So
What a beautiful experience. Yeah, thank you so much
it
for
was,
sharing that.
yeah.
I should probably start doing that myself. Yeah. Yeah, maybe worth reminding viewers that according to channeling sessions, your higher self is, again, your future self at mid sixth density, and that each of us, before incarnating, worked with our higher self to plan pre-incarnatively how our incarnation was going to work, all the way from the day we're born, all the way until the day we die, pass into larger life. All of that, all along the steps of the way, your strengths, your weaknesses, your gifts, key people that you're going to work with. You worked with your higher self, worked with you in planning that together. So it would make perfect sense in asking your higher self to help you while you're still here to navigate. It's a beautiful thing. Dr. J, anything to add?
Yeah. I would just, when Elaine was talking, I thought the same thing as far as when I first saw personality, because that's like a psychology term. So I was like, I don't know if that it didn't necessarily fit in alignment with my mind. But then as I thought about it, it then elevated what personality meant and what that term personality means to me. And I really thought that the first part, like the magical personality is not a mysterious entity. And I grew up in a very, very religious context, and God and the Holy Spirit was something you had to try to get. It was something that was out, you didn't really know what it was. You could be speaking in tongues, all of these different things, but this goes to it's you. You basically got a big sibling that's looking out for you, that's already here, that's you. And it not only does it just makes so much, it makes so much sense, but it provides like levels of gratitude, for yourself, that this system even exists the way it does. And I was just going to say, like, in regards to, I know Elaine was mentioning that experience with her higher self. As I started to do more and learn more about ritual magic, you are spending that time with your higher self. So you're actually cloaking your higher self as you go through that process, and that then becomes a time that becomes a consistent basis with you integrating yourself with the magical personality of your higher selves, and to become in unison with each other. And of course, they talk about it in you have something you put on or take off, whether it's a robe or a bracelet, to be able to separate the two. But as a person who have been doing magic, and you have these experiences where you start to feel those integrations, that they're working more in sync with each other.
Nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, appreciate your sharing that. And I believe we're going to take a look at some ritual magic practices in a little bit. Before we do that, I think I had another passage on magical personality. Anybody have anything to add on this passage before we look at another one? Sounds good. This one is from December 19th, 2009. Quo said, "Loosen yourself as you choose to be a magician from the literal meaning of these descriptive words: healing, teaching, dancing, singing. For a parent is all of these for her child: the dancer, the singer, the teacher, and the one whose radiance creates the atmosphere that keeps the child safe, happy, and open for new experiences. Don't be fooled by what things look like in the outer world, for not all teachers teach, not all dancers dance, and not all singers sing. Only you know what kind of magician you want to be. Only you know how much you wish to proceed in developing your magical personality. What each of you has in common is consciousness, and that consciousness each of you shares." Really beautiful passage, and I think it kind of reminds me of that other one that we read a little while ago about the adept freeing itself from the constraints of the thoughts and opinions of others. I think it is important that if one wants to practice magic, there certainly are many different rituals that have been done for a long time before you that certainly could do. But I believe Quo and Ra have said in other passages other than this one, encourage people to develop their own magical practices. Anything that you can do can be infused with magic if you choose to do it that way. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Any thoughts on this one, Elaine?
Wow, this is just so beautiful. And of course, it is a magical world that you create for your children when you hold them, tell them a story, read them a book, sing them a song, feed them, you know, guide them. And and that's magic, and again, taking loosen yourself from the literal meaning of these descriptive words. Again, like language just kind of does constrain us in a way, but again, for me, it just reminds me that pretty much everything done with love and distortions of love is magic. Every moment, our consciousness, the consciousness that we all share, which is the love and the light of the one infinite creator, which permeates the entire universe, it's all magic. And I love that they use the example of being a parent as kind of the epitome of that magic that doesn't have a ritual. It just literally comes from the heart, the magical heart.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your sharing that part about anything that you do with love can be magical, is magic when you do it with love. And that's something I've definitely made a practice of recently. I think both my wife Miriam and I have made a practice in the last few weeks of saying a prayer at the beginning of the day, asking God, asking one infinite creator to help us open our hearts and to allow everything we say, everything we do to be done with love, and to receive that love from creator and to channel that out and share it with the world. And at the end of the day, we'll say the prayer to thank, to dedicate that day and everything that we did to creator and to the world. And it means we go back and ask ourselves, so how many thoughts did you think today that were loving thoughts, that were the one original thought? How many things did you do today with love in our heart? And it's always a little bit disappointing because often it's a much lower number than we would have liked to. But it's part of the practice, and it's part of the reason why we say the prayers at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, just to make that part of our will, part of our consciousness. So practice makes perfect, as they say. Dr. J, anything to add?
Yeah, just it makes me think back to the earlier passage of when not Rob, but Cole was talking about look at the daily practices of your day to be then to see how it could be impacted. And I think about the same thing that you were saying about um, looking at just saying those prayers at the beginning and how anything could be elevated. And I know, like even now, I did not used to like washing dishes. It was not something that I didn't like doing. But now, as I wash dishes, I'm thankful for having plates, thankful for having silverware, thankful for having food that we had, and it really has elevated my whole like dishwashing experience. And my wife is now trying to transfer that to laundry, which I'm like, I don't know if I want to necessarily go there yet. But it has been trying to elevate these practices of things of how can I elevate the things in my day to be able to add more love and light to them. And it's been those simple things of appreciation and gratitude that I feel has helped my day out, just become a lot smoother and a lot more filled with love and light.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've actually done that a couple times recently, also washing dishes and reminding myself, oh, wait, let me do this with love. I love the dishes. I love the water. I love this moment. Bless this moment. And not to be braggy or anything, but I did clean the toilet with love in my heart one time. I think it was a couple months ago, but yeah, I did actually think of it as I was cleaning the toilet one time and remembering that famous passage from Quo, the toilet cleaning passage. Yeah.
Now you're bragging, Jonathan. Now you're bragging.
Once I did it. Yeah. Hopefully, it'll happen sometime again. Desi, any thoughts to add?
Yes, I like the first passage, how it's telling you to kind of not get fixated on having to do something perfect, like I have to be in perfect pitch, or I need to dance like an expert dancer, or I need to be educated in many years for teaching to do all these things. That just doing those things with love is what infuses them with magic. It's not that you're an expert or that, others, that you care about the opinions of others and what they may think of your music or your dancing or your teaching or your healing, that it's more about are you spreading love to others around you? That's the magic part of it. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah, and in terms of the polarity thing, I think Quo has said, yeah, that's probably one of the highest ways you can be of service to others is to do whatever it is you're doing with love in your heart. That helps lighten earth energies in a world that seems really dark in so many other ways. So if that's a lesson that we're taking away from this today, I'd say that's a great lesson. All right, anybody have anything else to add on this before we look at something else? Sounds good. Well, let us talk a little bit about ritual magic. For those who feel a need or want to cleanse their living space of negative energies, there are a few protection rituals that were shared by the entity known as Ra and the Ra contact that might be helpful for you. We're not going to go over these in detail, but I am just going to show you where they are at. So if you do go to the LNL research page at llresearch.org, and then go ahead, click on the channeling tab up top, and then select the Ra contact from the drop-down menu. If you scroll down the page a ways until you see supplementary resources, you'll see a link to protection rituals. And if we click on that, there are several that are listed there. The ones that I circled are the ones that I've actually done and have some experience with and seem the most useful, practical to me. the banishing ritual, the lesser pentagram, the garlic ritual, the salt cleansing ritual. The banishing ritual is one that I know Jim and the channeling team do often to cleanse their space for channeling. It's something that I do on a daily basis as well, both for my living space and for the planet as a whole. Garlic ritual and salt cleansing ritual are specific rituals that involve using garlic and salt and water to cleanse your living space of negative energies. It's a little more detailed than we necessarily need to get into today, and they've got quite a few steps for them. But I would say for viewers, if you feel a need or a want to cleanse your particular space of negative energies, yeah, click on those. And I did it once in my place and found those to be quite helpful. Dr. J, you have any thoughts on this? Any experiences to share? I believe you do the banishing ritual a fair bit, right?
Yeah, it's been something I've been doing probably for like the last 5 years now. When you start in the Hermetic or the Golden Dawn, you have to do that for at least 2 years before you start doing invocations, just straight banishing. And one of the things I will say is not only does for a while it helps to of course protect the space, but it starts to add a protection around your sphere, your aura, or sphere of sensation, your aura, that just more less negative vibrations and things can penetrate, or becomes less impervious to what you're experiencing. So it does help. It's something that I have been doing, and if it's something that you are kind of interested in, this is a kind of a good way to get. Could be a good way to get started with ritual magic. Thus, we've already learned we're all magical beings, but this could be a good way to get started with ritual magic.
For sure. Yeah, and the fascinating thing for folks who might not have known is part of the banishing ritual is crossing yourself. And as you're crossing yourself, you're saying, Ate Malkuth Vegabora Vegadula Leolam Amen, which translates to Thou art the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever, which I think is super fascinating, since I think anyone who grew up in Christian traditions knows that that is often part of the Lord's Prayer. So knowing that part of the Lord's Prayer and part of the tradition of crossing yourself actually can be traced to ritual white magic. I think that's pretty cool. Super beautiful. Desi, Elaine, if I remember right, before we started recording, you were saying that you have not done any of these rituals in particular. Did you have anything you wanted to add at this point?
My thought on rituals is that I think people may maybe like get caught up in like, oh, I have to do it in a certain way. And I think what's most important is like the intentionality, is like maybe the ritual part of doing it in a certain way is just that it's just the fact that you're applying a lot of intention into the act is what's important. And maybe the fact that others around the world do these similar rituals maybe adds a level of power, because it's not just you, it's kind of a collective effort every time you do the banishing ritual, that kind of energy is manifest again. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, that seems to happen with a lot of things where it's kind of, well, it's this and that. Because I think to a large extent, what you just said is true. It's like the words really don't matter. Following the exact steps don't really matter. The intention is really the most important thing. And then on another level, I think I would agree with what you also said, which is when you are saying word for word the same prayer, the same invocation that has been said by countless individuals for a long period of time,
Mhm.
there is a certain extra power metaphysical to it. So take that for what it's worth, viewer. Elaine, did you have anything to add on this?
Yes, I've never done any of these rituals, but a few months ago, I learned of this prayer. It's called the Heavenly Prayer of Light by Dr. Joseph Michael Levy. It's a recording on YouTube, and it's beautiful. And I found that when I would do this prayer, um, I felt very protected. So it's light before me, light behind me, light at my left, light at my right, light above me, light below me, light within me, light in my surroundings, light to all, light to the universe. and then love before me, and peace before me. And as I would do that prayer, uh, I would listen to it, first of all, and it has beautiful music, and his voice is wonderful. It felt very like I was donning a an energy of protection around myself, and also extending that out to, not only within me, but to my surroundings, to all, and to the universe. And it sort of dawned on me at that time, like, this has turned into a ritual of protection for myself, because I felt the need to protect myself at that moment, and my space, and, like you were saying, Jonathan, the planet, basically, my immediate surroundings, the planet and the universe. And so that's really the only thing I've ever practiced that felt that it kind of took a prayer and turned it into, in my mind, like um, a ritual dawning of protection. Yeah,
That's beautiful. Makes
yeah. It's
perfect
called
sense to me.
the Heavenly Prayer of Light by Dr. Joseph Michael wait, Levry, not Levy, Levry, and it's
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I can see how that could be a very profound, powerful prayer as well. And yeah, I mean, obviously, there are many different cultures and traditions that have different ways of cleansing spaces. Smudging would be one of the first thing that comes to mind, that certain smells seem to work really well for that. Makes sense to me.
Mhm.
It is funny, the garlic ritual, for folks who aren't familiar with it, it really basically involves taking a clove or more of garlic and cutting in half and just basically hanging it as something that apparently negative spirits don't particularly like, and burning it afterwards. And I mean, that's funny if you know the tradition of vampires and garlic. That I guess apparently that does actually have some roots in metaphysical reality. Apparently there is something about garlic that negative entities, energies don't particularly like. So
Mhm. I eat a
anybody
lot
have
of garlic. Does that count if you eat a lot of garlic and cook with a lot of garlic? I mean, I am Italian. I
only
was
if you were going to kiss a
raised.
vampire, I think. Uh,
Well, I've had no run-ins with vampires, so I guess it must be working.
good, good. Anybody else have anything to add on this before we change subjects?
I was just going to just add one more thing. Like, I mentioned when I was in Wisconsin and Minnesota, I spent time with the indigenous people there, Osheti Shakoween, and some of the elders that I got a chance to speak to as we start talking about spiritual matters. A lot of the visualizations were the same as far as Golden Dawn magic and some of their spiritual practices, which really let me show like a lot of these things are really universal concepts. So there really is something to in regards to like multiple people being in and able to do them and them having a certain impact because they gain enough energy and intention and so forth. So I didn't want to just throw that was in there because I thought it was so cool when I was talking to them and we're interacting and learning how a lot of these systems they're synchronized, they come together. So
Nice. Yeah, I appreciate your sharing that. I mean, I forgot to mention that smudging is something that I learned that came from indigenous American
mhm.
cultures and traditions as well. So, beautiful thing. Well, as long as we are talking about protection rituals, let's look at a few passages on the most powerful magic in the universe. In session 75 of the Raw Contact Question 2, Ra said, "We may note that the distortion towards love, as you call this spiritual emotional complex, which is felt by each for this entity, will be of aid whether this is expressed or manifest or unmanifest, as there is no protection greater than love." And in session 64, question 21, Ra said, "As always, love is the greatest protection." I believe these were questions as far as how to protect the channeling team from what seemed to be ongoing attacks by negative entities, and they were trying to figure out how to protect themselves. And Ra was saying that love is the greatest protection. Including in session 55, question 2, where Ra said, "There is no magic greater than the honest distortion toward love." And just wanted to add one more. On May 16th, 1993, Latwii said, "There is no greater magic nor healing than the love, the forgiveness, and the compassion for those who walk upon the path of evolution with you." It's such a beautiful thing. To me, it just really so touches my heart to think that there is no greater magic in the universe than love, and that, as we said in the beginning, all is one, and that one thing is love. The universe is literally made of love. That's just so beautiful, considering how not obvious that might be when one looks around at the third density illusion that we are experiencing. And I just find these words so reassuring that it always comes down to love. Love is really all that matters. Desi, any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, the part where it says love is the greatest protection. Honestly, the first thing that came up was like Harry Potter and how his mother's love was what kind of like protected him from I guess when Voldemort was trying to kill him or whatnot. And
I
so I was
was
like, oh
thinking of
wow,
that
yeah.
exact same scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
For our viewers, do you remember what that was?
The scene or the
Yeah.
what was I
Yeah.
mean, I all I know is that and I'm not like the biggest Harry Potter buff. This is just my limited knowledge. But I believe that Harry Potter was a baby or is infant or so, and he was his parents and him were being attacked by Voldemort, and his mother embraced him or hugged him, and her love was enough, even though Voldemort successfully killed his parents and left him an orphan. It was he wasn't able to kill Harry Potter, and he, left him with his little thunderbolt on his forehead. But that's what made me think of that. Is like, wow, that love is, and it makes sense because if you think of the creator and like words to describe the creator, the first word that comes to mind to me is love. And so like what can be more powerful than that, and tying it back into like what Marianne Williamson said about like how we're afraid of our light, not our darkness, is that like wow, if you embrace that, if you embrace love, that like you have that power too. It's not far from you either. It's very close.
Yeah. Yeah, I so appreciate you bringing up that scene from the Harry Potter movie because indeed I was thinking of that same thing when I read these passages. And I think it was in the first movie, and it was with the great Richard Harris playing the role of Dumbledore. And he was telling Harry how, yeah, the bad guy couldn't bear to touch him because his mother's act of sacrificing her life for him left a mark on him, which evil could not tolerate. And Harry
Yeah.
asks, "What was that?" And he says, "Love, love, Harry."
Mm.
It's beautiful.
Mhm.
I was just watching that on YouTube recently, that clip. Elaine, anything to add, movie related or otherwise?
I saw the first Harry Potter movie, and I keep wanting to watch it again and watch the others, and I just never have. But this is inspiring me to put it on the schedule. Um, just, no matter the question, no matter the problem, the answer is always love. That's it. The one thing, love. Simple. And this is, just another reminder over and over and over and over again. The one answer, the one thing is love. So it's just beautiful, as
Isn't
always.
it? We
Yeah,
always
I
tend
love
to
it.
make things so complicated and so much more complicated than they need to be. And as you said, Quo once said that, yeah, the answer to every question is love. The solution to every problem is love. How you do that might be different for each person in each situation, but yeah, it's just a beautiful thing that it comes down to that. Jonathan, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just say like even this, I mentioned this morning, like during our the Heartland Law of One group, we were reading 68 when Latui ended up coming and and kind of saving Carla from that. And as you're talking, we're here talking about like love being the greatest protection. I just started like thinking about um why it's the greatest protection. And since I believe it's because it's in correlation with like the original thought, it does act as like almost like a beacon for help or for service. And like even in the situation where the negative oriented being was kind of just sitting there waiting for that opportunity, and Latoya was able to help. Well, I remember when we did the Angels podcast, and Elaine, I think you was on that too, that maybe the Angels podcast, where we read that there's just these positive beings just sitting around on your couch, on your cabins, just waiting to come, just waiting to be able to be of service. So I think that that a love of vibration is like an inviting, a welcoming to those positive oriented beings to be of service. So that's just kind of what came up as I'm thinking about the TUI and the Angels podcast that are just waiting to be of service, and how love can be able to notify and serve as a beacon.
So beautiful, and a great segue into our next passages. Did anybody else have anything to add before we do that? Sounds good. Well, let's take a look at a couple passages on magic everywhere. On April 26, 2008, Quo said, "These are wondrous times, for your people approach graduation day, shall we say, that point after which each death from life on planet Earth shall be entirely open to the possibility of moving forward into fourth density. And not only is the planet and the solar system as a whole receiving these incredible waves of energy, signaling the end of third density and the beginning of the dawning of a new age of fourth density, but also at this time, there is tremendous interest in helping those of planet Earth who wish to move forward in a service to others manner to succeed. So the inner planes are rich with those who come to experience this time of shift with the incarnate entities of planet Earth. Angelic entities are everywhere. Nature devas and nature spirits are everywhere, all wanting to play, to sing, to dance with you, with each, with all, inviting each to dance this dance into the sun, into the light, into the dawning of the new day." Yeah, it so beautifully echoes what Jonathan was just saying, that they're there. You're surrounded by these entities all the time who are attracted by the purity of your polarization, the purity of your wanting to be of service to others, the purity of your love. And it's so beautiful, but you just have to ask for them because they will not violate free will. You do have to ask them to help and thank them when you remember and do realize and appreciate it. Desi or Elaine, any thoughts on this passage?
I don't know. Love it. Beautiful. The whole concept of angels and how much love and light is surrounding the planet and surrounding us and is in us, within us, and accessible to us at all times for any reason. There's the creator blinks neither at the light nor the dark, so it doesn't matter who you are, how you're living, what you're doing, you have access to all of this um, gift of love and light from the one infinite creator and all of its manifestations of these angelic entities and just all the beautiful manifestations of 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 gifts of that love and light. Everything from nature to divas and sprites and spirits. It's just so beautiful to think about that. And the stars and the moon and the planets. So I just love Quo.
Yeah, me too. Well, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about nature and the magic to be found everywhere in nature. I can never remember if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, if it's diva or deva. I think it's coming from Hindu traditions, so
Yeah,
I don't know if it's pronounced the same way we pronounce divas. Do you guys know by any chance?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll Google it up afterwards, or viewer, you can let us know in the comment section. Otherwise, yeah, I think I did just recently in the last year or so really make a practice of when I'm going outside to say hi and to thank the plants and the animals that are there and the nature spirits that are there and to acknowledge them and thank them for the beauty that they add to this beautiful planet. Dr. J, anything to add?
Yeah, just I know I had mentioned something about the angelic entities, and when I read about the, I'll just say nature, Davis, when you like, even when we're doing like the ritual magic, you do learn about like the different positively oriented like elementals, like the gnomes and these different things, and it's fascinating to be able to know that these spirits and beings of nature, they are there, they are positive, and they have a role in contributing in the ecosystem of bringing in a fourth density. And it's just it's beautiful when you think about all of these different beings that are able to get experience and but are working in unison and bringing them to fourth density. So I just start thinking about these gnomes and these elemental entities that I've learned about in ritual magic and how they're also there supporting our path as we do a walk in nature, or you may be outside, you may be hot, but you feel like a warm, a cool breeze. That's, I mean, those are intelligent beings. Those things aren't just happening. So it just made me start thinking about these elemental, positively oriented beings.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it reminds me, there was a great movie animation called Epic, I think, that came out a while ago. You guys familiar with that? Seen it? Didn't get a lot of attention. Don't remember many people talking about it, but it does. It's about a guy who believed that there are nature spirits and things that are happening. Just nobody can see them. So his family and his wife think he's crazy. But it does show that, in fact, yes, beneath our notice, there's this constant, a whole nother universe of these nature spirits, both of the light and of the dark, interacting with each other. And I believe the queen nature spirit is actually voiced by Beyonce, who I believe would be a very appropriate diva to play a nature diva. I think it's a great movie. Really enjoyed it. Desi, anything to add?
Yeah, I guess like what y'all been bringing up about nature is just like a reminder to myself to get out in nature more often and go on long walks. And I do remember like just like when I was doing that more regularly, I felt like kind of rejuvenated afterwards, or just kind of like the load was lifted or just lighter, and that you know I chalked it up to like the trees and it's just pretty, but like maybe there are some like forest fairies that are just also kind of infusing you with love, and that's why you kind of leave nature
Mhm.
spaces with uplifted energy. Um, yeah, and I was thinking about also just how at this time on our planet when we're kind of approaching harvest, that these higher density beings are probably even more willing than ever to be pouring love into us and to um if we were if we ask them for help, that I think that they're more than willing, especially at this time, to kind of reach down and to like help us up and help us raise our consciousness.
Yeah, beautifully said. And as they said in that second paragraph, they're everywhere, wanting to play, to sing, and to dance with you. So joining the dance is a big part of this, I think. We did a podcast episode on that fairly recently called "The Dance,"
Yeah,
I believe, and I believe your husband Michael was on
yeah.
that panel as well. That was a great one.
Yeah, our daughter at Thanksgiving, like she was grabbing people and making them dance. She was like, someone was sitting, she would like grab them and like she got us all to be dancing in this room. And it was just so, I was like, oh, she's like a little magician. She's trying to like invoke her dancing powers to like, like she gets that from her dad. That was super
Yeah.
cute.
Oh, that's so
Beautiful.
beautiful. How old is she?
She's two.
2. Wow.
Oh,
You had a nice little indigo child there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had one other passage on this subject to go through. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add on this one before we change? Sounds good. I believe this one was from May 18th, 2003. And Quo said, "The self is magical, and the environment of the self is also magical. You are so much more than you seem. Each gives so many gifts that each is unaware of through each day. Intent may be set in such a way as to call in help which is unseen, and which is the other side of the story of that physical persona which is flesh and blood and has only two hands and must be responsible. This help has no hands, has no feet, and for the most part it has no voice. This help is unique in its pattern, its structure, and its way of communicating with you. For each of you is a very special and eccentric kind of energy ball that draws to it, because of its beauty, entities from the inner planes, which this instrument would call angelic, which wish to help. They wish to help with gifts of spiritual presence, inspiration, laughter, healing, and any number of invisible yet very real sub-rays of that sun of love, that logos of unconditional and infinite love. They will not aid you in doing more chores more quickly, but rather the help, when remembered, is as that blessing which pours like rain upon the thirsty soul, smoothing and washing away the corrosive acid of catalyst and offering the healing balm, the inner touch of that company which touches the heart, enters the heart, and settles there, spreading like the balm of Gilead, the feeling that all is well. In the midst of this chaos, all is well. So beautiful. There are so many things we could unpack from this particular passage, but I really love the part in the second paragraph about us being eccentric energy balls that draw to it entities from the inner planes. I do remember another passage where they said something to the effect that no matter how beautiful or not you may feel that you are, there are inner planes entities, angelic beings of light, who are attracted to your beauty of, they said they cannot resist someone who is really honest and sincere and wanting to be of service to others. They're attracted to that like moths to a candle flame. And I think it's just a really beautiful thing to remember, especially if you're feeling alone, that there is help for you. But again, you have to ask for it, because they will not violate free will otherwise. So really appreciate that. Dr. J, any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, just the first sentence, the self is magical and the environment of the self is also magical. And from when I read that, I think about like a kind of another quick story when I ended up having some employees that were having issues amongst each other. And the conflict, I would say, was getting to the point to where it was getting so intense that it would be interrupting my meditations. Like I would be thinking about these things before I went to work because they were causing a lot of problems. But I would send love and light to the people, but I will also send it to our physical environment. I would send it to my desk, I would send it to their desk, and to that into the actual spaces. And I would say within a few months after that, all of it had been resolved. The whole situation had been resolved, and I credit a lot of it to, I believe, the environment, like the environment that the people were in, the the interactions we had. I believe sending love and light to that environment actually did help kind of reduce a lot of the conflict that situation was what was happening, because the situation did resolve itself. So I just really start when I saw that, just thinking about not only the magic that we carry, but by way of the light and the love we carry, how we can impact the physical environment to increase the vibrations of that environment.
So beautiful. Yeah, so many different ways that can be done, and I appreciate the sharing on that. Desi, anything to add?
I thought it was funny when they said they will not aid in doing more chores more quickly. So I guess no help in doing dishes faster or laundry. But that the help is in more into getting into your heart, touching your heart, and realizing that all is well, even amongst, the chaos, as they say, or just challenging catalysts, that they're here to help, not with your chores, but
Were you visualizing Cinderella also with all the little forest animals
maybe so.
helping her clean her
Oh,
room or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love
Uh,
that reference to the balm of Gilead at the bottom. It's one that's
mm,
been mentioned quite a bit in channeling sessions, and I believe came from the Bible originally, I think. But yeah, that idea of a blessing that pours like rain upon the thirsty soul, smoothing and washing away the corrosive acid of catalyst and offering the healing balm of Gilead. That has become a practice for me, a magical practice that I don't think I got from anywhere else in particular. But I know in channeling sessions, they have said that water has a very special property of being able to act as a crystal to receive and hold emotions, just like Dr. Emoto's experiment with water crystals and positive thoughts. And they said that the archangel Gabriel, who is invoked in the banishing ritual, is the angel of water in particular. So
mm,
oftentimes when I'm watering the lawn in the summer or when it's raining, as it does so often, I think of that and I think of that water falling down on the earth, and I say a prayer and I thank Archangel Gabriel for that gift of water, and ask Archangel Gabriel to bless that water. May it be infused with the light of an infinite number of suns, is what I say, and may it be received by Mother Earth as the balm of Gilead to bring her healing
mm.
wherever she is sore. And I just like to think of that as the water is falling down. It's like a gift, it's like a blessing from above, and to be able to add that little blessing of myself and to imagine that water being infused with the light of an infinite number of suns and having that spread through the earth. To me, it's just a nice little practice that I like to do. Elaine, anything to add?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite passages of all time. It's just so, so beautiful. And I just love the thought that they wish to help. You know, Hatan, Latwii, they say hundreds of times, they thank us for asking them for help because they want to be of service to us. So not only are we benefiting from from that, but they are um, joyful and wanting to serve by being there for us. So what always comes up for me with this is just complete gratitude, like constant gratitude for all of this, you know. And Quo just reminds us thousands of times in these channeling sessions how they are there in service of us. And all we have to do is ask, you know, and thank them and be grateful, of course. But how could you not be with these incredible gifts that are just everywhere at all times for us?
Yeah, and like you said, that gratitude is such an important part of this. Just the feeling of feeling gratitude in your heart is a super important part of this magical practice, I think, and our spiritual life in general. Appreciate you bringing that up. I think I've got a couple more passages on a different subject. Does anybody have anything to add on this before we move on and start wrapping things up? Nice. Well, let's look at a couple passages about everyday magic. On April 22nd, 2007, Quo said, "Your culture is a very disempowering culture, in our humble opinion. It seems to be bent upon removing from your mind any thoughts that do not have to do with maintaining the status quo of life as a consumer. However, my friends, You are at heart not simply a consumer. Indeed, you are potentially a co-creator and a magical, powerful being capable of functioning in such a way as to change the true core nature of planet Earth on the metaphysical level. And on March 19th, 2006, Quo said, "In our perception, you are extremely powerful and magical beings. Even within flesh, you have within you the ability to access the divine. This is because your very nature is love." They go on to say later in that session, "As you do ordinary, everyday things with this intense, overshadowing love, something magical occurs. As you seek to pull that enhanced vision of a life lived in love into yourself from the regions of the divine, you activate powers within you that are incredibly strong, and you begin emitting light. It is not coming from you, but rather it is coming through you." So beautiful, and it always cracks me up when I read that first part about our culture is very disempowering. It seems bent on removing any mind or thoughts from you that have nothing to do with going out and buying shit, and the stores are off the internet. But they're saying you are potentially a co-creator, and you have the ability to change the true core nature of planet Earth on the metaphysical level. Which just reminds me, I think, I'm just putting that out there, that yes, of course, and the service to self entities who are trying to polarize in that direction on the planet, the ones who are in charge of, say, our political, economic institutions, they are well aware of that. They do not, under any circumstances, want people to be aware of the power that they have to be a positive influence on the planet, because that does not really help them in their particular agenda. So I just find this super inspiring in that way. And hopefully people will wake up and remember who they are and that they have the ability to make a difference on planet Earth, in spite of all appearances to the contrary. Desi, any thoughts on either of these passages?
Something I was thinking was like that first line of like the culture is a very disempowering culture. I think that especially at this time when it just seems harder and harder to just because the powers that be and the monetary policies and our economic system, it seems like uh, I think of it as negative entities have made it so difficult to thrive in life that what it's going to do inadvertently is kind of against their plan because it's going to make people go inward and seek things that are not material. Because if they essentially left it where it was like, oh, still like there's hope, you can do the American dream and you can do this thing, then people would maybe like forget about developing their spirit and just be like, okay, well, if I just work a little harder, I can get this nice car or this cool house. And but when they've kind of made it so difficult for people to thrive, I think it's turning people inward and away from their systems to more like, how can I help myself and not rely on this broken system that we're in.
Really powerful insight there. Really appreciate you bringing that up. I do remember there was a passage in some session a ways back where Quo encouraged us to be clever in the way that we get through all this stuff and to see those things that appear to be limitations and flip them around to be strengths. And I think that's exactly what you're describing, because yes, it really does seem the service to self entities in charge of our political, economic institutions, they have made it seem so obvious that there's nothing we can do, politically at least, to fix this, that it has caused so many people to turn inward and to develop their spiritual power instead. And ironically, as you said, that's where the real power is. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Elaine, anything to add?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Desi. Um, I don't know how old you are, but you may be around the age of my daughter. She's in her early 30s,
I'm
and
36.
okay, yeah, she's 2 years younger than you, and she talks about this same struggle, and I I help her as much as I can without but respecting her free will, and
Yeah.
and um and yeah, it is a disempowering program that young people especially seems like are having to deal with these days. And yeah, if they could just access that magical personal power that they have, you know. So yeah, it's I'm glad I'm aware of it. I just wish I could help my daughter become aware of this power that she can access, you know. But when you're just struggling to survive, you know, and in that red ray energy, it's hard to become aware of these until the catalyst just gets so difficult that you do turn into yourself. And she's actually doing that. I can see her language is kind of changing and her perspective is kind of changing. And she kind of repeats things back to me that I've forgotten that I've kind of said, you know, that are all law of one uh, premises. And I'm just going, oh, yay, good. You know, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's on their own timeline. And
yeah,
as much as we would love to help them realize these things as we
yeah,
feel is appropriate. Yeah, didn't work with my kids either. My kids have no interest in the law of one whatsoever. And that's okay. I think I can
yeah,
accept that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Jonathan, anything to add? Sorry, I'm calling you
I,
Dr. J, Jonathan. I like calling you Jonathan because it's like I'm talking to myself, only like
we're
a
twins,
better
man,
looking
twins.
version of myself. Yeah.
Twins.
The one part that I really just love was the last sentence. Um, as you begin emitting light, it's not coming from you, but rather it's coming through you. And as we just become, more spiritually aligned, we're able to be a channel, to really be a channel. I think, and we can emit more light to others who are around us. Elaine's talking about her daughter. I'm thinking about like my kids, like to be able to emit light to those that are around us. And I think that's just beautiful. That's just beautiful because that's not necessarily based on your own strength because the light is unlimited. It's based on being able to know who you are, and I just love that last thing is just being able to be a channel.
Yeah. Kind of goes back to the Marianne Williamson quote, I think, where she was saying, as you radiate the glory of God through you, it gives other people permission to do it themselves and creates a chain reaction, I think, which is very, very real. Really loving the conversation, and I'm sorry, but I believe we've just got one more slide to look at. Did anybody have anything to add on these two passages before we look at those? Sounds good. So the first one was from May 10th, 2008. Quo says, including the creator in all that you do is the way to create your life as magical. The creator is not out there unless you allow the creator to be far off. The creator is intimate with you in a very sexual way. As you move through your everyday chores, invite the creator to come into your life and power, and mean it, and watch your life transform. You will find yourself exchanging energy in a far more transparent way and seeing the energy expenditures of those around you. You will feel the energy of the sun and share with that energy, giving your love back to it. And so an energy exchange is made with the daylight itself. You can do that with each and everything with which you come in contact, including dishes, apparently. Dirty dishes. Second passage is from April 16th, 2006. Quo said, we would encourage each of you to choose communication over aggression, patience over impatience, love over fear, and hope over exclusion. What you as a person do may seem to begin and end within yourself, but we say to you that you act not only for yourself, but for humankind. The choices that you make, if made purely and with conscious intention, can change the world. Yes, you are that powerful, that magical, and that influential. You're a wizard, Harry. I think, yeah. Yeah, really beautiful. And I hope our viewers, if you didn't get anything from this, that you realize you really do have the power to change the world in spite of what other entities might suggest. And that you, yeah, make that choice, polarize, decide whether you are on the path of service to others or service to self. And everything that you can do after that can be very powerful and magical. Elaine, any thoughts on anything here?
This is a beautiful way to sum all of this up, Jonathan, because again, reminding all of us that every single one of us has this power and can call it magic. Our topic for today, uh, using love in everything you do, and in those actions, you 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 act not only for yourself but for humankind, and that is the whole point of this third density, is for us to unify. We all are one, and we're here to learn that over and over and over and over again, as our goal is to become one, to unify. Not just harvest into fourth density and all of that, but just returning back to the one infinite creator, which we do as we unify. And so it's just so hopeful and so beautiful that this is this is this is going to happen anyway. We're all on the path to the one creator, and along the way, it's it's up to us to do it together, to unify. And so this magical personality, or you know, choosing communication over aggression, these patience over impatience, love over fear, back to love is the answer for everything. It just seems very simple, and it's just very beautiful and very hopeful, and a beautiful way to kind of sum up this topic today. I love these passages here.
Yeah, and you summed it up beautifully. I got nothing to add to that. Thank you. Dr. J, anything to add?
Yeah,
Any thoughts of your own?
the only thing that I have is just how I would say I have had to shift my understanding of more of God, the creator, being something that's way out there, something that I have to fear, something that I have to beg for, all of these different things. But that sentence, the creator is intimate with you in a very sexual way. And I just think about that in regards to like a energy exchange. They didn't say like the in a parental type way. They made it very like kind of equal, and that was something that I just didn't grow up with. I always thought I was like a below guy. You had something that, again, you had to fear, and this is being presented as, this is not a fear-based relationship. This is a of exchange, an energy exchange, and it's just a more healthier way to go thinking about, thinking about it. So I just really appreciated that, of just how I was taught, like growing up, and just kind of the understanding that I have now, which is beautiful. Of, it does not have to be a fear-based relationship. And even as I read that, I'm just grateful to not have a fear-based relationship, and to be able to stop that from happening in my family. Because my family, my kids are not going to have a fear-based relationship with the creator, because they look in the mirror every morning when they do their affirmations to say, I am the creator. So it's those things that I feel happy about just reading in myself, because there was a time where it was very, very fear based for me, and I can just gladly say that it's not anymore.
That does seem to be the way so many organized religions operate, which is a fear-based idea of God. And I suppose in many ways that's a great way to control people, to make them want to come to you in order to have a better relationship with God, and to depend on a priest or somebody in a clergy hierarchy to speak to God for you rather than you doing it yourself. think it's a good point that you bring up. That's certainly what I appreciate about the law of one. They don't recommend any one religion over another. They say if it works for you, then do it. But otherwise, it's there's nothing more personal than your relationship with Creator. Desi, anything to add?
Yes, like what stood out to me the most was at the end when he's saying, the choices that you make can change the world and that you're powerful, that magical, and that influential. It reminded me of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Richard Dawkins and like his like scale of consciousness, and
Mhm.
how sometimes it feels like, okay, there's so much terrible things going on in the world, and it's like, how can we make the world a better place? And that just reminds me that it only takes a few beings to raise their consciousness to that high of a level, and their impact can be so broad. And to not be dissuaded by what you see in the world as darkness, that like it just takes a few of us raising our consciousness to a higher level. Like imagine if you had like multiple Jesuses walking around the world, like how much that one person impacted humanity, like if you had 10 of those, you know. So it really would take like just 10 people out of 8 billion to do that, and like how much change you would see, so that you are
So
powerful and
cool.
influential. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm sorry. I was just getting a visual in my head of that Spider-Man pointing meme. I don't know if you guys have seen that. The
Yeah,
three
yeah.
Spider-Man characters. I was picturing that being Jesus with a bunch of on Earth. I'm sorry. That is so blasphemous.
No,
I'm
no,
probably going to get
I love
struck by lightning.
it.
Yeah, that really is a beautiful, powerful image, though, and certainly a great way to end things, wrap up with. Does anybody have any other thoughts on this passage before we go ahead and wrap things up here? Sounds good. So, where do we go from here? What are some good takeaway lessons we might have from our 2 hour conversation? I've got six for you to consider. First of all, magic in the law of one is defined as the ability to create changes in consciousness at will. Two, you are a magician. Three, magic is everywhere. Four, everything you do every day can be magical. Five, you have the power to change the world in spite of appearances to contrary. And lastly, the most powerful magic in the universe is indeed love. If you can remember any of those, I'd say that's pretty good. That's not bad. What do you think, Jonathan? Any takeaways of your own you'd like to add?
Oh man, you summed it up perfectly. I think that the thing that the most powerful magic in the universe is love, and that's the thing that I walk away with. That's what we're all made out of. That's where we're all vibrating at, and that's where we're all going to return back to, the source of love.
Yeah, yeah. All is one, and that one thing is love. Desi, anything to add?
Uh, I'll just say, as always, Jonathan, you do the best at summarizing and getting like the juice of everything out. And so, yeah, I don't think I could have done a better job of, yeah, summarizing it like you did.
You brought your own magic here, my friend. Thank you so much. So enjoyed all the insights that you've shared and everyone else on the panel. Elaine, any takeaways or last thoughts you'd like to add on this subject?
Nothing to add to this summary. And again, this has just been a beautiful, magical time. And thank you so much, Jonathan, for inviting me. And it's such a joy to be with Dr. J and Desi again. So, yeah, this truly was a magical time together.
It really
So,
was.
thank you.
It's a
Hmm.
beautiful blending of energies, and you all thought of so many more things than I could have thought of myself. And I'm sure our viewers appreciated hearing the other voices too. So thank you so much for making this magical indeed. Did want to let our viewers know that if you enjoyed this episode, you might want to check out our episode on chakras and energy centers. If you're not real familiar on that stuff, we look at a lot of passages going more in depth into that and how they are super important for our spiritual growth. Might also want to check out our work in consciousness episode, which involves work with the indigo ray in particular, which is known as the Center for Magical Workings and the work of the adept, as they say. Check out our podcast episode on light workers. So much of what we do in magic seems to involve working with the love and the light of the one infinite creator. Great passages on that. I believe Elaine was on the panel for that one. Check out our podcast episode on angels and archangels, which I believe we referenced before, which I believe Elaine and Dr. J were on before. Beautiful passages on the help that is there and just waiting to be asked for. Check out our podcast episode on the present moment. The present moment is a teaching that's been mentioned hundreds of times in channeling sessions, and it has been said that experiencing the present moment is like catching magic. Check it out. And lastly, our episode on creators and co-creators, how in most religions it would be considered blasphemous or insane to declare to others that you are in fact God Almighty. But that is pretty much the fundamental premise of the Law of One, and great passages on how to become creator and co-creator. And with that, we have our pop quiz. Pop quiz, of course, is something we like to do at the end of our sessions, just to end our otherwise serious conversations on a lighter note and maybe look for Law of One connections in pop culture. Panelists, we've already talked about Harry Potter. Harry Potter would have been the obvious go-to for a pop quiz, but honestly, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I think I lost interest after the fourth or fifth one. So pop quiz is not on Harry Potter, but it is on another character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the master of the mystical arts, as it were. Anybody know who I'm referring to? Panelists?
Dr. Strange? I don't know.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. That was a much more longer, more awkward silence than I was hoping for. Congratulations to you watching on a viewer who got this. Yeah. Are you guys seen any of the Doctor Strange movies or know anything about this character? Let the Akashic record show that Dr. John and Desiree are nodding their heads.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, we should have said it. I'm thinking they can't see me nodding my head.
Yes, yeah, that is the weird thing about how Zoom works. Yeah. If you're not speaking, you're not on the camera.
Yeah.
Dr. J, you said you've seen at least one or more of these?
I have all of them. I've seen the whole franchise of Doctor Strange. So yeah.
Nice. Well, hopefully this pop quiz will be fun for everybody, whether or not you have seen them. This pop quiz is actually not that much about the story of Doctor Strange. It's mainly about the actors and actresses who've been part of it, as you will see. So your first question. What's the name of the actor who plays Doctor Strange? Is it A, Benjamin Cumberbund, B, Butternut Crinkle Fries, C, Brandy Nutcracker Jack, or D, Benedict Cumberbatch? What do you think, panelists? Got a wild guess on this one?
B. Benedict Cumberbatch. Oh, love him.
Yeah,
Elaine,
I was
as
gonna,
someone who has not seen any of the movies, you're doing pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna
and
say B for 25 cent, but
yeah, these are great. These are great. Did you come up with these, Jonathan?
No, I believe I looked him up online because his name is so funny. I mean, so many people have made fun of his name, and he seems to take it so good-naturedly. So, yeah, all hilarious.
I love him. I love his name. And I told my husband if I ever get another cat, which he won't allow, I would call it Benedict Cumberbatch. Just because I love that name so much.
That would be a great name for a cat. Yeah, for sure.
Little Benny.
Yeah, great actor. I mean, he's been great in all the Doctor Strange movies and all the Avengers movies and all the other Marvel movies that he's been in, and he seems to play that character really well. And he is yet another British actor who seems to have mastered American accents really well. I would not have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's I'm a fan of his, and he's an incredible stage actor and Shakespearean actor. And I've seen one of the franchise movie houses out here shows London Theater live in the movie theater, and he played Frankenstein, the Frankenstein monster, and Dr. Frankenstein. So they did the production in two, and he was astounding as Frankenstein. The
Were both
birth of
characters on
Frankenstein,
stage at the same time?
the actors switched roles. So there was an actor playing Dr. Frankenstein and then Benedict Cumberbatch as Frankenstein in one production. And then
Wow.
later they switched roles, and
Wow.
it's marvelous, just amazing. He truly is a much deeper actor than
For
these
sure.
Marvel films, I'm guessing. But
He's
yeah,
done a
he's
lot of movies, a lot of TV work.
yes,
Yeah. Great actor.
yes. Oh yeah, and Sherlock.
And
He
Sherlock.
was
Yeah.
great in Sherlock. Yeah, I'm a fan.
He was great in Star Trek Into Darkness. He played the role of Khan. He was great in The Imitation Game, the story about Alan Turing, who cracked the Enigma code in World War II and
Yes,
suffered for being homosexual at a time when that was not okay, not acceptable.
yes,
Played that role
yeah.
well. Are you ready for your next question? How about this one? What's the name of the actor who plays Mordo in the Doctor Strange movies? Is it A. Daniel Kaluuya, B. Mahershala Ali, C. Chiwetel Ejiofor, or D. Idris Elba? How well do you know your black male actors is the question here. What do you think, panelists?
Well, the only name I
Hope it's not
recognize is
Idris Alba.
Idris, but I don't think it's him. So by process of elimination, it would just be me guessing. I would go with A.
Nice. What do you
I'm
think?
gonna either yeah, I don't know. I'll do C just to do something a little different. That way we can cover the board. That way each of us can try to that we
But
can
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
combine.
Your
not a
turn,
contender.
Elaine. You got two
I
possibilities.
I have, okay, well, since no one chose B or C, I'll choose C. But I
Jonathan
have no
chose C.
clue.
Oh, Jonathan chose C.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm going to choose B. But I don't think that's him. But let's just cover the board.
They are all great actors. Daniel Kaluuya was in Black Panther. He was also
Yep.
in the Jordan Peele movies, Get Out and Nope.
Oh,
Mahershala Ali was in Luke Cage. He was into the Spider Verse movies, the Sony ones with Miles Morales as Spider Man. Idris Elba, of course, was great in The Wire and the Fast and Furious movies and in Thor as well. But Chiwetel Ejiofor is the correct answer. He was great in this role. He also starred in 12 Years a Slave. He was in The Martian. He was in
oh
Inside
yeah.
Man. He's a great actor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see some good representation. That is definitely something I've appreciated about the MCU. They have definitely gone out of their way to show a little bit more representation in their movies rather than
100%.
just always white characters, white male characters. Have
100.
not a big fan of the last. They haven't done a great movie in a couple years, I think, but I still enjoy them. I still watch them, and I appreciate the DEI work, shall we say, that they do for diversity and inclusion. How about your next one? What's the name of the actress who plays America Chavez in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? Let's see how well you know your Latina actresses. Was it A. Xochitl Gomez, B. Michelle Rodriguez, C. Jenna Ortega, or D. Allegra Acosta? I'm such a jerk. I'm sorry. Panelists, just take your best guess if you don't know.
I have
I'm gonna
no
go with
clue.
A Because I think I remember something about Gomez. So I'm gonna go with A.
Nice.
Okay, I'll go. I know it's not C, I think. So I think it's D, maybe. I don't know.
Nice. What do you think, Desi?
I'm gonna go with A. The only ones I recognize are B and C, but I don't think she's either of them. So, and Allegra seems like a made-up one, so I'm gonna go with A.
Allegra, Allegra Acosta is not actually a made up name, but
Oh, it's
I never
not.
heard of her. I just saw her on name a list when I Googled up famous Latina actresses. She's done a
Oh, okay.
fair bit of TV work, apparently.
Mm.
Series called Runaways and Just Add Magic. Michelle Rodriguez, you might know from the Fast and Furious movies. She's a recurring character there. Jenna Ortega, of course, plays the character of Wednesday in the Wednesday Addams series, as well as being in Beetlejuice 2, I think. But yeah, Xochitl Gomez is the correct answer. Did great in this role and hopefully see more of her because I looked her up. She is in other things that I've
She's so
never seen before.
cute.
Dr.
Okay.
J, you're batting 2 for 2. I think you're crushing it. Let's see how we do on our next question. What's the name of the actress who plays the Scarlet Witch? Is it A, Ashley Olsen, B, Susan Olsen, C, Elizabeth Olsen, or D, Mary Kate Olsen? How well do you know your actresses named Olsen? Panelists, care to throw out a guess?
No clue. I'll,
I think
I'll,
it's C, Elizabeth Olsen.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I'll say C. I know it's not. I know it's not D because the Mary Kate and Olsen twins, those are ones from Full House. So I know
Right,
it's not. It's not D. So I'll go
right,
with C too.
right. Well done. Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen is correct. Who, in case you didn't know this, is indeed the older sister of the twins, Mary Kate Olsen and Ashley Olsen, who were
Oh,
the girls in Full House as
I
it
really thought
well.
she was the younger sister, but yeah. Huh.
I'm pretty sure Elizabeth is older than the other
I have no
two.
idea. Yeah.
I haven't kept up on that either. And Susan Olsen played Cindy on the Brady Bunch. If anybody ever watched that series from the 70s. Elizabeth Olsen, though, really did a great job in this role, and she was great in WandaVision for sure. Great actress. And she handled her hot wings very well, I believe, when she was on Hot Ones. She crushed it, the YouTube series. Your last question. What's the name of the actor who plays Wong? Is it A, Benedict Wong, B, Simu Liu, B, Simu Liu, C, John Cho, or D, Ronnie Chang?
A. A.
Great,
I'll go with B.
great guess.
I'll go with A because Elaine said that too confident not to know the answer. So I gotta go with my sister Elaine on that one.
Did you know that, Elaine, or are you just guessing?
No, I just saw a movie, and now I wish I could remember which one it was just the other night, and he was a character in there, and my husband is a big fan, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I just saw him, Benedict Wong, and he's funny.
Was it
Yeah,
He's funny."
Weapons that you watched? Was it Weapons, the movie? I think he
No,
was in.
gosh,
he was in The Martian.
I'm
Was it
s-
The
I'm
Martian?
so bad. No,
Okay.
no, 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 no. I'm gonna text my husband real quick and
I
see.
have information for Weapons, but
We're
yeah.
going to be ending this in
Okay.
about 2 minutes. Simu Liu played Shang-Chi in the Shang-Chi movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. John Cho was in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, and he was also played Sulu in the Star Trek movies. Ronnie Chang is a comedian who was on the Daily Show. Super hilarious, and I believe he was in Crazy Rich Asians, though. Benedict Wong is indeed the correct answer, which just shows you how fucking racist these movies are. They didn't even bother giving his character a different goddamn name. It's really, you couldn't come up with anything more interesting than Wong. Jeez Louise, that is terrible. Great actor, though. Great character, great movies. Well done. Panelists, as always, it has been a joy hanging out with you. It has been a magical experience. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To you who are watching this episode on video at some time in the near or perhaps very distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We are sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator. Adonai, namaste. Say goodbye, panelists.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.